Fire Chat events on the International Women's Day celebration. Hashtag, choose to challenge. My name is Stella Eitayo, and I'm going to be your moderator this evening for this event. So, but before we proceed, I would like us to take some safety tips. Today when I was preparing for this presentation, the safety tips I wanted to talk about was actually on ergonomics while working at home. But, an event this evening just made me to want to reemphasize, the need for us to take COVID-19 very seriously. So this safety moment is going to be on staying safe. Please, let's just make sure that we more like follow all the safety guidelines that have been put in place, for us to prevent, transferring this disease or even getting COVID itself. So let's wash our hands frequently. Let's use an alcohol-based sanitizers when you don't have the facility to maybe wash your hand or something. So you can always have hand sanitizer in your bag, that you take around, so you use it frequently. You wear your face mask. Please, let's endeavor to wear face masks appropriately, when we are out in public and when we can't really practice social distancing. And let's also avoid large gatherings. Let's avoid it. If it's not a place that you have to be, let's just try and stay away. And lastly, when you're feeling, all the symptoms of COVID, you just self-isolate, because the truth of the matter is it might not affect you, adversely, but the person that you expose yourself to might actually be the one to pay the ultimate price. So please, let's make sure that we protect people around us by just following this principle and isolate ourselves should we, have those symptoms of COVID. And also, if it's like out of hand and you can't handle it in your home and all, you can call NCDC on this number on your screen. So let's quickly run through the modality of these events. Firstly, I'd like to say that all of us should mute our mics, so that we can hear all the speakers as they come in, to discuss with us one after the other. Let's all mute so that this event is well organized and people can hear very clearly. And if you want to ask questions, just raise up your hand and I will call you once the speaker, they are available to answer. So I'll call you one after the other as well. And lastly, you can also, show your reaction. You're allowed to show your reaction on this event. You can send in your clapping, your likes and different emojis to express yourself. So I'll move on to introducing our guest speakers. So here, let me just say that I won't be reading, because I want the event to be very interactive, so I won't be reading their bios. So I'll just allow them, to tell us about themselves and also their journey, as we move into the presentation. So the first speaker that I'll be introducing is Priscilla Emmer. She's the lead petroleum engineer in Heritage Energy Limited, and followed by Mrs. Fanyama Okoli. She is the Sub-Sahara Africa Drilling Solution Technical Lead, Slombiji. And then we have guys, because it will not be fun to just have women alone in this event. We want to hear from our men too. So we have Mr. Michael Oyere, the Senior Process Engineer, Seplat. And we also have Mr. Onyebuchi Okereke. He is the lead reservoir simulation engineer from Chevron. So please, let's welcome them with all our clapping and emojis, Thank you. So I'll just go through a brief, more like an introduction and objective of this presentation. So we all know that International Women's Day is a global day celebration. We talk about the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women in all walks of life. But in this case, maybe we'll be focusing on the oil and gas, but I can assure you, women are doing great things out there. So while we celebrate this day, we would also like to hear from experienced women and men in the industry, or on how they overcome some of the challenges that, they had, while in the industry. So the theme for this event, is actually choose to challenge. And the objective of this informal conversation is to provide a platform for all of us to be free to express ourselves, and we can share all of our experience. So I just want to say that let's just loosen up. Let's be willing to share, with the people on our guest speaker. Let's share our experience. Let's bring forward our questions. So I'll be asking our speakers, to explain to us, what this theme of today means to them. That will be the first point. And I also, like I said earlier, you first of all more like introduce yourself and also tell us your journey and your experience so that we can, all connect with you. So I'd like to know, I'd like to hear from you, please. In this order, I would like Mrs. Fayama to go first. Please tell us about yourself, your journey, and what this topic you choose to challenge means to you, as a person. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Stella, and I really appreciate the opportunity to engage with everyone around this subject, because the subject is very dear to many of our hearts as women. Could you please confirm that my audio is clear and loud?
Yeah, it's clear and loud.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, so my name is Fayama Okoli. I have been around in the industry for about 16 years, and all this time working with Schlumberger. So what it means is that being in a place like Schlumberger, you have had diverse experiences. I started off on the field. I was a logging while drilling engineer for about four years, going to 5 years. And in that environment, working on rigs, of course, you end up working with men most of the time. You could be on a rig for a 30-day stretch, and you're the only woman amongst the people on board of about 200 people for all that period. So you are constantly in the middle of challenging circumstances, right? And coming out of that environment, I got to start working more in the office, diverse environments, diverse roles. So for each time, you just have to prove yourself, because the system looks out for the woman with the metal, right? So what it means for me, choose to challenge, is women need to understand that there are challenges in the first place. There are expectations and there are stereotypes that have been there for generations. So when we find ourselves in this space, we do not need to cower. We do not need to just remain, accept status quo and flow, go with the flow. We don't need to do that. International Women's Day 2021 is very apt in saying choose to challenge. So the responsibility is being brought on women to decide to challenge that I'm not going to accept this norm or this stereotype as I'm seeing it. And this is something that for me, I learned from day one, because let's take a simple case. You are on the rig and you have to pick the bottom hole assembly. A typical stereotype would be, oh, you're a woman, drop it. I'll pick up the 8.5-inch drill pipe for you so that I make it for you. So it's an instant decision where I say, okay, I don't want to hurt my waist. Thank you very much for offering to help me. Or you say, no, I choose to do this myself. Let me do it. So you pick it up, you do it, you succeed, you run your tool down hole, you pull out of hole. In that instance, you have sent a message across that I choose to challenge. And by so doing, you can imagine that the next moment, the stereotype is broken. So what International Women's Day is trying to push here is that for the woman, take the responsibility to challenge situations around you that are biased. Okay, so that's a brief summary of my relationship with the topic.
Okay, thank you so much for your response. That was explicit. Over to Mr. Michael Onyere. Please, can you tell us about yourself, your journey in the oil and gas industry, and what this year's theme means to you? And if, for example, from man perspective now, have you seen women being discriminated against, and what did you did you do, in that situation? Did you just look the other way, or you encourage, or you did something? So I just want to hear from you.
Okay, thank you very much, Stella, and good evening to everyone that is connected today. My background is chemical engineering, so I'm a process engineer, and I've done that for some years now, about 10, and that has exposed me to being involved in a lot of projects. I've been involved in a number of projects, and with that exposure, I've worked with a diverse set of people, young, old, women, and I mean, lots of people that have given their best towards deliveries, and that has opened up a better understanding of the working environment, the expectations of team members, and how perception ranges across male expectations and female expectations. And just like Fanyama mentioned, there are some activities that you might think that are not well suited for women, or you quickly have the mindset of trying to intervene and all of that. So I've had a few of such experiences within my engineering journey. Currently, I'm with the corporate finance unit of the business, and trying to understand how the financing of engineering projects occur or take place. And that, of course, has exposed me to another dimension of the business, another dimension of culture, and opportunity to also work with a diverse set of people, which of course includes males and females. And you see how I've come to see how women are thriving in the various aspects that of the business, and how they bring in their quota into the value chain. So all of this sort of highlights my snapshot in the past 10 years thereabout. And it's one thing that stood out clearly is the fact that there are always the dynamics that the women bring that create a formidable that pulls the team together in that sense and delivers substantial product. So what will the theme of this year IWD mean to me? It's an opportunity to continue to advocate for the visibility of women achievements. You need to where you're in a situation where a team comes together to do some work, and you see that in putting these things together, women, a lady must have brought the biggest ideas or the best of ideas. And when it comes to an opportunity to make the presentation, because you sit back and it's delegated to a man to deliver that presentation, and there isn't an opportunity for those that have brought value or made quality contributions to be made visible. These are opportunities where we all have to stand up against and make sure that the achievements that are accorded to the ladies are made visible, and that way we begin to eliminate biases such as this and make sure that we're providing equal opportunities for all gender, regardless of male, female projections. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Michael Ere. Thank you so much. Okay, so over to you, Mrs. Priscilla Emmer.
Thank you, Stella. Good evening, everyone, and you're welcome to today's event. Stella has mentioned, my name is Priscilla Emmer. I'm a petroleum engineer by profession, and I've been in the industry for over 11 years. My journey, although I now work as a petroleum engineer managing production deliverables, I started my career as a well engineer, and I had the opportunity over the years to work on diverse projects and even to embed in partner offices. So you can imagine being on the rig on a drilling project and you're the only woman on board, or even walking into an IOC drilling department where you've been asked to embed and you're the only woman from the beginning of the floor to the end. So yes, their stereotypes and their biases. It was a challenge, or it's a challenge having to speak up in such situations where you walk into that office and first you're looked at as a woman, like, what is she going to say, you know? So we experience these challenges. So I'd say that the journey to creating a diverse, gender-balanced world is a collective effort. So choose to challenge means that I choose to call out mindsets that limits women development, because it's all about the mindset. So it can be societal mindsets, religious mindsets, even cultural mindsets. I also choose to call out gender bias and inequality where I see it. Where there's suppression and superiority, I choose to call that out and not be quiet. I also choose to examine myself and call out personal biases. It may not just be me, it may be in that next person who feels like they don't measure up. I choose to encourage them to speak up, to see the best of themselves, to be their biggest cheerleaders. I also choose to call out invincibility where women are not given the platform to speak up or where their achievements are not showcased. For me, that's what the theme stands for. So whatever opportunities you find yourself where these are being exhibited, you call them out. Yeah, that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Mr. Onyebuchi, you can go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Stella. And good evening, everyone that have dialed into this very special program today to commemorate the International Women's Day. I wouldn't probably spend too much time speaking about what it means to me, because a lot of my colleagues have covered some of the thoughts I had. But in terms of my background, I'm a petroleum engineer. Studied that both BSc, MSc. Have about 14 years upstream oil and gas experience that span across technical functions and strategic planning roles as well. Um, what does the theme choose to challenge mean to me? Um, for me personally, the theme is about asking myself a question and ensuring that everyone that is within our industry and indeed in the world asks themselves that question about gender equality. That when we say choose to challenge, excuse me, do you speak up about gender inequality and biases anywhere you see that manifesting, or do you keep quiet and let things play out the way they want to play out? It's for me, it's about contributing our quota to bringing focus on this very important conversation to ensure that there is indeed a level playing field for all gender, with emphasis now on the women folk, to ensure that if there are obstacles, if there are limitations, if there are challenges, things out there that are for our women folk to excel in any environment. If there have been situations that have limited women folk, we provide we challenge the status quo and be able to find out the path that can ensure that indeed we have that level playing field and ensure that our women folk also excel in this world. The other thing that it means to me, it's also about um, self-challenge, about me encourage all the women folk around me, uh, my wife, my kids, my friends, my industry colleagues, my mentees, and all the ladies around me, to ensure that you do not settle for less, that you strive, you challenge yourself to be the best, and you know um, aim and strive for whatsoever dream, aspiration you have. As the saying goes, what men can do, women can arguably do better. The last thing for me is, as they say, you cannot spell challenge without change in between. So essentially, embracing that discussion and that challenge helps in igniting or stimulating change that will ensure that indeed we have an inclusive world. In terms of my journey, I've worked with about 8 different bosses in my 14 years in the career. 4 of them men, 4 of them women. I don't have a single thing to say that is negative about the female bosses I've worked. I excelled under all the bosses I work with, but frankly speaking, I had an amazing time with all the ladies. My first supervisor was a woman. My current supervisor is a woman, and I see them excelling and flying high, and I don't see any reason why any woman would see any glass ceiling above her. And indeed, like I said, for any man that is in that situation where you find any obstacle, any bias, any roadblock that is preventing the excellence of a woman, choose to challenge implies that you raise your voice and ask those questions to ensure that those biases are set aside.
Wow, that's a very comprehensive explanation. Thank you so much. I just want to remind, the people in this event that you can actually send in your question via the chat, or you can raise up your hand if you have any question, if you want to speak. So thank you so much. So, but this question is directed to Priscilla. Someone is asking, in what ways do you think women a challenge in the industry?
Thank you, Stella. So I think that women are challenged in very diverse ways. Few of them, one of them can be in terms of balancing career and family. So if they do not have the right support system, or the companies don't support them, or they work for bosses who don't support that, it can be a challenge. The important thing is having the right support system. Another way that I see challenge is in access to opportunities. So the assumption that women are unwilling to take up certain roles, or they are not flexible, and several other reasons. So certain assumptions can be made. For example, you're a woman, you just had a baby, and an opportunity comes up, and there's debate about whether you can take that opportunity. The assumption can be made on your behalf that, you know, she just had a baby, she will not be able to take it. And if care is not taken, she might be passed by on that opportunity and it will be given to someone else. So if situations like this arise and the decision is left to the woman in question to make it, it would be a lot better. I mean, you don't know if she will take it, you need to ask her first. So access to opportunities, and even knowledge that these opportunities exist, right? When the condition or the situation is not conducive, and you have a woman that's constantly being talked over at meetings, or she feels she doesn't have the ability to command the same respect that is afforded to men, it can dampen her enthusiasm and erode her self-confidence. We also could have factors such as social factors, cultural factors, and even personal biases that women face. For example, our industry is regarded as male-dominated, archaic, and sometimes rigid in the approach to certain things. So even with that optic, it's not even favorable to women to begin with. And then you now come in and you're in a situation where things are happening in the archaic way in 2021, then it could potentially be a challenge for the women. Another point I'd like to talk about is in terms of sponsorship. So as we go up, and it's a pyramid up there, the competition is stiffer. So if women don't have the right people to speak for them, to sponsor them for these opportunities, for these positions, then it becomes a challenge. To start with, even women in these leadership positions are limited, right? And then not having the right people, the adequate number of people to speak for you becomes a challenge in itself. Yeah, those are a few things I think, and I'm sure there are a lot more to add to the list.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Someone is asking Onyebuchi. Actually, is the person said to the men. So, but I would like Onyebuchi to take this. The person is asking that, have you been in a situation where women are being treated, in a stereotypical way at workplace? What did you do? What was your what was the perception of the other men, after your action?
That's an interesting question. Thanks to whoever asked the question. Yes, I've been in the midst of conversations where perhaps someone's performance that wasn't up to expected standard was being unfairly stereotyped, that was the result of the fact that she was a woman and probably did not give enough time to that task. For me, that made no sense to me, because, like I said, I have worked with several women who have excelled. I mean, some of them have literally blown me away with their intellect, their leadership ability, and how amazing indeed that they are with their performance. So it it doesn't resonate with me at all that um, someone might drop the ball at any point in time because of his or her agenda. And all I did was just to politely refer to a lot of all the excellent performances that we've seen from women around us, and it was obvious to the few people I was speaking with that it was a wrong stereotype to make, and I believe that that message sank through. I mean, it's in this day and time, it's not something that we should still be having people have that sort of mindset. So wherever I've seen that, I try to make those corrections.
Great. Thanks for that, for always supporting the women. Not always, but at least, when this kind of issue, happens, it's always good for you to see that, not just women, women, but I won't say always we support each other, but at least to some extent, but seeing the men actually supporting you, it means a lot to us. Thank you so much for that answer.
Like I said, sorry to cut you, Stella. I mean, even women too have supported my career a lot. In fact, as I was speaking just moments ago, my first child, 10-year-old daughter, just came in and gave me a thumbs up, and that gave me a lot of confidence to continue speaking. So yeah, that means that indeed we are getting the support from the ladies as well, and should
Yeah.
reciprocate.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Thank you. So this next question is directed to Fayanma. Somebody is asking that what do the industry need to do in order to achieve gender parity?
Thank you, Stella. This is a very big question because it has different facets for managing gender parity amongst all both genders. So I would first break them down into phases. Okay, so let's start with the entry phase. The needs of the entry phase is different from the needs of the mid-career. So for the entry phase, the suggested approach would be to put in place policies that allow equal entry into the pipeline. Say a recruiting policy that ensures there is 50-50 of both genders, okay? So at that point, there is no way of really making a clear demand on the gender apart from giving them the opportunity. So companies are encouraged to give equal opportunities from the entry point, the beginning of the funnel. Right now, we know that as both genders progress in their career paths, there are different things that happen along the way, especially for women in mid-career now who have to raise families and struggle with balancing work and family. So at that stage, the needs are different, and companies can now adopt some of those methods that have worked so well in different industries. We're looking at the flexible work time. We're looking at cases where women take roles that are not that allow them to balance work and family. We're looking at situations where women are given opportunity, especially the ones that are available to take those opportunities. They are given opportunities to take on projects based on their capacity, right? Now, there is the third phase where most women, the older ones, the senior professionals, they have gone past the family stage and they are more independent. Most times these women come back into the workforce with full energy, but then because the system is already skewed and the gender disparity is so big at that point, it might even be more difficult for them to gain entrance. So again, for those category of people, companies can ensure to retain them by, again, using policies that ensure that there are women on boards. So for example, let's take, again, I'll refer to Schlumberger here, but I know a lot of other companies are doing similar initiatives. Reporting to the CEO is a 50-50 gender parity, and it's the policy. It's not about who is more competent or not competent. As long as there is an opportunity, it is shared 2-2, okay, 50-50. So it is up to the company now to go and look for the women who qualify to occupy those roles. And more often than not, there are women who qualify for those. So at that stage, companies need to apply policies. Now, another variant I would apply here is, because not a lot of women are interested in taking these leadership roles, because sometimes it is overwhelming, to be frank. It is overwhelming for some women, like it was mentioned earlier, if they don't have a good support system, they don't really want to take on that additional responsibility. But in that mix, you will find some outliers, some women who really want to take on the challenge, some women who are ready to take on the challenge. So in those cases, when they are identified, all right, it is important that companies give them the opportunity. And more often, I want to give a shout out to more and more men who are advocating for this change. So there are men banding together to ensure that this kind of conversations happen, and it's improving. It's going to get better, and more women who are ready to take on additional responsibilities should be given the space. Thank you.
Thank you, Fayama. Please, as a follow-up question to what you just explained now, someone just asked that she notices that there's a space between maternity leave and returning to a big space in your career. So how were you able to manage childbearing and career growth at the same time? How were you able to manage and you're still on top of your game? So please, can you just answer that as well?
Yeah, great question, and thanks for bringing it up. So the strategy is something I learned from a mentor, right? A woman who is also flying very high in her career. And this, I think every woman needs to learn very early on, okay? So you need to have a clear map of your career life cycle. The beginning, when you are fully available to take on some tasks, and then that phase where you know that definitely you would be drawn by different responsibilities, okay? So for women in the window where they are managing childbearing and family, the recommendation I got from my mentor is to focus on education, your own self-development. Okay, take on roles that allow you to balance, but use that gap to grow yourself such that by the time you're coming out of that phase, you have developed competencies that puts you at par with what the industry needs at the time of your return, and there is really no gap. So it also requires accepting the phase you are in. You don't fight with it, otherwise you will burn out and you would bite yourself, right, more than you can handle. Accept it, but use it to develop yourself and prepare for that rebound.
Wow, thank you. Wow. That's a very nice response. I think I'm going to, but I'm not having another baby though. But I would have used that. Thank you so much. So this question is a two-in-one question for Mr. Michael. Somebody is asking if you are a feminist, and also the person is asking how she can manage and do sexual harassment in the industry. Please, can you just you might not be an expert, but just from your experience so far and what you've seen, can you just answer the question? Thanks.
Well, I'm glad you noted I may not be an expert, but I mean, I'm one strong advocate of women, and I think I've said that a number of times, and I mean it's most likely I've had a fair share of women in my life. I mean, I have 3 sisters and now have 2 daughters, and so I understand the influence of, or the content of what women are made of. So I mean, that should speak to my not necessarily being a feminist in that sense, but of course, I'm a strong advocate of women knowing their value and what they bring on board. Now, speaking to sexual harassment, I do not know of any particularly within my working industry, but of course, I've had reasons to speak to women or a few colleagues around harassment or bullying, not necessarily sexual harassment within the industry. But what is primarily, what is fundamental, or what I would, advise is, or what I have advised and I've seen worked, is the fact that you need to speak up. If someone promises you that he's going to give you a certain reward, or have sex with you for you to be able to get this promotion or do that, it fundamentally would not hold water, because first off, what is important is in women preserving their dignity. There's once you know what you're made of, because fundamentally you need to also believe in yourself, understand your capabilities, know what you're made of, and have that self-confidence in yourself, such that someone does not talk down on you or makes you feel less of a human being, that you need to submit yourself to sexual harassment or to giving sex before you're getting a complimentary reward. So in that in itself should be frowned at by all standards. And what is fundamental is that women should not be intimidated by such biases. So you learn to speak up, and it is proper to explore all channels within your corporate environment, in terms of policies, in terms of avenues or channels to engage those around you, or the authorities, the relevant authorities, just to be sure that the issue is addressed. Because if we keep quiet, it continues to fester. So when we feel intimidated and let me use the word chicken out, it gives the perpetrators of such acts more leverage to continue to perpetrate such wrongdoings. So what is in it is ensure that you don't take it standing, or you don't take it lying. You must complain about it. And if you don't seem to see results happening, you still have to keep shouting, or you still have to keep making a point about it until a time it is addressed. And of course, have to be you doing it intelligently. You don't have to be fierce, or rather be derogatory about it. 2 wrongs they say does not make it right. When you come from a calculative approach, knowing all that is within your rights in terms of policies, in terms of there are bullying and harassment policies within most corporate establishments. So seek those, and if it gets to a point where you don't seem to be getting the right answers within the books, you can consult external lawyers and just make sure that you don't keep quiet, and that's the important thing. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that profound response. Thanks. The next question, I think this question should be addressed by the 2 women in the house. Somebody is asking your view around women not supporting women at workplace. So Priscilla, you can go first.
Okay, thank you, Stella, for the question. I'll start by saying that some people may tend to believe that women not supporting women is a myth. I mean, in fact, I just found this out, but it's actually not a myth because there's a Forbes article that was written by Dr. Sean Andrews titled "Why Women Don't Always Support Other Women," and she highlighted a number of reasons why this could be happening. And one reason she mentioned is an invincible natural law in the female culture that's called power dead even low, which basically means that as long as elements such as self-esteem and power of one woman is seen to be similar to the other woman, in that situation, there could be a healthy relationship. But when the balance shifts, hostility may arise. I've worked with one female boss, and she was amazing. IJ would tell you that if she can do it, then you can do it. There's nothing limiting you. So personally, I've never really had the experience where women don't support the other. But yeah, with this article, it exists. Some women indeed do support other women. So, but I think, in my own personal opinion, that as women, we should be our own biggest cheerleaders. We cannot be celebrating International Women's Day and making a case for gender parity and not be seen to be supporting ourselves. It makes a mockery of the issues that we're trying to address. So yeah, I'd leave it at that. I think that as women, we should be the one carrying the matter on our head and supporting ourselves, providing the opportunities for the next woman. When you go up, when you climb up the ladder, pull the next woman up. You know, that way we begin to fill those roles that we're asking for a place in. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Fayama, do you want to add to what she said, or you should proceed?
Yeah, I will just look at it from two ends, and Priscilla addressed it very well, bringing the research behind it. Personally, I haven't experienced it as a gender thing. Rather, I would say that such animosity can actually be received from both a woman or a man under different circumstances. So my advocation would be to treat it as animosity coming from an individual, irrespective of the person's gender. Then that allows you to address it as objectively as you can. So for the person who is giving or dishing the animosity, Priscilla had just given the right word. Let us all be open to encourage the other woman, seeing that we're all in the same challenge, right? However, for the other person on the receiving end, the message would be to be very objective about it. Deal with it as though you are dealing with a multi-million-dollar contract that you need to close out. You will look at all the perspectives. You will use all the tools at your disposal. You will call for all the supports external to you. Do not apply emotions, because once emotions come in, expectations come in, then it gets all muddled up and difficult to resolve. So let's say she's your boss and you need to deal with that kind of aggression on a daily basis. Look out, how do you deal with an aggressive boss, irrespective of whether it's a man or a woman? Okay, you now apply those tools like make out a clear plan, use your communication, and look out for a win-win balance for both of you. So it's where I would tend to, that people who find themselves in that situation should use the most objective method for dealing with such scenarios without applying gender to the resolution?
Wow. Thank you for your response. Wow. Thank you. Okay, so these questions, I think Oyebuchi will take this question. It's about a woman that chooses to challenge and it backfires. You know, how do you get back up? What do you do? How do you move forward? How do you make amend, or how do you still lay down your case, even though you know that what you're challenging is the right thing, you know? So how do you handle such situation?
Thank you very much, Stella. So for me, three things come to mind. A woman has challenged and is experiencing repercussions. No, I'm not. I'm sorry about that. So my girls have come in and did not disturb me. The little one, my boy, just came in and has obstructed my my flow. But boys are also great. Anyway, so essentially, um, a woman challenges and is facing repercussions. So for me, it's important to not shy away from that conversation. As a matter of fact, at the point of challenge, it's important to, if you do have an inkling that there may be repercussions for that challenge, for you asking for something to be done right without bias, without any gender bias, it's important for you to bring up that conversation and put it at the doorstep of the recipient of that challenge or recipients of that challenge, because it could be a board, for instance, that you hope that your challenge will not result in any repercussion as a responsible organization. Sometimes bringing up that conversation makes the people to think, and it kind of puts them in the colloquial language, we say puts them on the defensive. They start thinking to themselves that, oh, if I act in an untoward manner to this lady, maybe in terms of performance and opportunities, then it could be seen as a repercussion because she challenged an inappropriate stance. The other one would be, as Michael said earlier on regarding sexual harassment, that also applies here, would be to explore the policies and structures that are in place in that organization. Could be whistleblowing, could be anonymous complaint, it could be formal complaint to the HR legal department, to make sure that people are aware that you are sensing a repercussion because you challenge the status quo in terms of something that is not being done right with regards to gender. The third one would be to seek alliances and you know, always, like they say, when the voices are a lot many, then it becomes louder. It becomes louder. So seek alliances, people you know who are who are real advocates for women excellence in the industry or in your community, to add, to lend their voice. Maybe it's even better if they are men as well. But having that alliances and ensure that you're not a lone voice in the wilderness can also ensure that such repercussions are corrected. But by and large, while you're going through that, keep your head up and ensure that you're doing your best. You are excelling at what you are meant to do, just to ensure that there are no basis of holding you down.
Wow. Wow, thank you so much for your answer. I just want to say that, you know, we should go around the table and, you know, put in our final comments as we celebrate this day, so that, you know, all of us can run with your advice. What has made you, you know, like successful, especially to the women. And of course, I know the men too, they have advice, you know, for us. So let's just go around the table. I'll start with Michael, please.
Okay, thank you very much. I think in staying consonant with the theme, choose to challenge. We should be living here today, being deliberate about the changes we want to see, and it could cut across a number of things, but we all need to choose the much we can and play those roles actively. And it could range from consciously willing to forge positive visibilities for women achievements. So what does that mean? Or for women, is to ensure that when women perform in small spaces, it beholds on whoever it is that manages them to ensure that when there are larger meetings or larger presentations of such, those works are projected, and that's what creates visible opportunities for such women to grow from point A to point B. So in essence, we must strive to ensure that visibility is key once you have identified performing women. So that's one area. Another could be to, shut out. You must be conscious of eliminating the biases that have all been mentioned within this call earlier. The stereotypes. We must also help to avail same opportunities for male and female. Let these opportunities be merit-based and not necessarily favoring males or either favoring females. It should be a conscious attempt to make sure that even, so that when a woman gets the opportunity, it will not be said that it is because she was a woman she was given. No, it is because she merited it, and that is why it was given to her. So we should be able to advocate for such opportunities of equity, equality, as far as our industry, our community, or our workplace is concerned. So maybe lastly will be to ensure that we all continue to, this thing about ensuring women there's the right balance between the male and the female gender. It starts from one takeaway I think we should have from here is that it starts from the home. It starts from when kids, or when we are all children, or when we're all kids. How you have a mix of male kids and female kids. How do you, and even if you don't, you have a family that has that network. Now, how do you teach your boys to be respective of women or of ladies? How do you teach your ladies to value or respect men, or to value men? How do you teach the men to value the women? Do you, from at home chores, do you segregate what is male, what is female? If you want to get the women to cook in the kitchen, expose the men to cooking in the kitchen as well. You want to get the women to do home chores, expose the men to doing home chores as well. When we all grow up knowing that there's no discordance between male, there's no activity termed male activity, female activity. There's that openness, there's that exposure, there's that mindset that enables young ones grow into responsible and fair thinking men that then get to appreciate the women for what they are and what they can always bring to the table. So my point is, it starts from the very beginning, the very base. And just like Buchi alluded to his kids coming in and giving them the right credits, male, female, that's when we need to start passing this message across. And the next generation becomes the better for it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So Priscilla, can you go next?
Thank you, Stella. I'd say that the crux of the message of International Women's Day is about creating equal opportunities for women. The message is not that women and men are the same, but it's about the fact that women have the same rights as men, simply because they are also human beings. Rights to access the same opportunities, basic human rights, rights to accessing the same resources, rights to fair treatment, to respect. So in line with the theme, choose to challenge, I'd say as women, we are capable of doing exceptional things. So be visible, be courageous, and speak up for you and for the next person who may not have the courage to speak up. I'd share a personal experience for me during the course of my career where I think to date is one of the toughest moments I've had in the industry. It was an attempt to bully me at work, and because I had seen and experienced better, I would not take it. I mean, I had very high standards of how I wished to be treated and addressed. And besides, maybe one could say because at that time I was at a point in my career where I was quite confident in some of my experiences. So I would not take it. One question I kept on asking myself was, Priscilla, why would you take this? I thought about it. I had no reason to accept it. In fact, it was, in my opinion, completely unacceptable. So what did I do? I called it out. First, I called a meeting in front of everybody, and we were looking at ourselves eye to eye. We're both here to work and to add value. What is the problem? What is the issue? And when that did not
It seems that we lost Priscilla. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, Stella, I hear you.
Okay.
Yes,
it seems
Stella.
like we've lost Priscilla.
Hello?
Okay.
Hello?
Back. Yeah, we can hear you now. So we lost you a bit. You were talking about the meeting that you had.
So I was saying that, so for me, when that didn't yield any tangible results, I walked up straight to as high as the executive director, and I said, look, this is what is happening. If it's not addressed, I'm actually ready to turn in my resignation. I will not be coming back when I go on leave. Luckily for me, maybe I was lucky, or maybe it was a bold move to speak up. He said, oh, he had not noticed something similar and he was going to address it. And that was addressed. So imagine if I had sat back and I had gone into my shell and I hadn't spoken up. Because what that does to you mentally is you begin to question your capacity. You begin to wonder if you're the reason why you're being treated the way you're being treated. So I'd say that, I mean, have very high standard of how you want to be addressed, of how you want to be treated. Don't accept anything less. Because when you speak up, you're not just speaking up for yourself, but you're speaking up for that next person who may not have the same courage to speak up. So that's what I would say. Because as women, we are exceptional. We can actually achieve anything that we want to achieve, and there are no half measures. There are no shortcuts. Work hard. If there's a job to be done, do it so that when you're going to be evaluated, you're going to be evaluated based on your competencies and what you can deliver. And it will not just be a favor that's being given to you when you're being put in that position. Yeah.
Wow.
So that would be it for me. Thank you.
Yeah, that was really explicit, to the point. Thank you so much. So, who is the next person? Fayama, right? Have I called you?
Yes, I think I would be the last person.
Yeah, you can go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you, Stella. So, in parting, what I would say to my younger self, myself, and everyone else who finds who is in this kind of a society where we have to choose to challenge. The message would be first to believe in yourself. We really need to believe in ourselves, because when we go through those challenging moments, it is your self-confidence or your faith in God, or your faith, your belief system, that would give you an inner strength to carry out the rest of the ABC steps that need to be carried out. So having that self-belief in yourself, your capacity, is really important. And so by doing that, you want to come into conversations of choosing to challenge. Look at it from a perspective of a win-win. All right, if you want to challenge a system, first, what is the value that is coming, you are bringing to the system? In fact, that is something that you have to really outline, like Priscilla mentioned. You have to know what you bring to the system, and by so doing, demand an equal value for yourself. So it's a win-win for the relationship. Okay, so that will help in navigating some of these curveballs. All right. We also want to understand as women that there are phases to this thing. Okay, there are phases to this thing. Understand your phase, know what stage you are at, and then you can choose whether to go ahead and face the challenge, or to step back and review. There is that time, and it is allowed to step back and give everything a chance to mature, or to the phase to change, right? But in doing that, you don't want to lose faith, whether you are charging or you are stepping back, to gain a balance. And finally, for women, I would say invest in a support system. Okay, when we encourage men, what the men have working for them strongly is a support system. You would hear in many presentations, it is very easy for a man to say, oh, my wife is a wonderful support system, and she's the backbone, she's amazing. So for the woman who is working in the industry, you do not have a wife. You are the wife, and you're handling both, right? So you yourself understand that you need to invest in a support system. Your wife the support system is not a wife, but now it is everything else that can give you the support you need. Okay, so that is something that we should not handle with lightness, and expect that you be in the right frame of mind to balance home, family, and work. It will be difficult. So that's some of the words I want to leave out with us as we go out there and continue to challenge and change the narrative. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you to all our guest speaker. In fact, it's a wonderful conversation. It was quite engaging from the beginning to the end. I picked up a few lessons that I'm going to run with. Thank you for all the people that join in, for this event. We appreciate you for staying till the end of the event. Summarily, I just believe I should do this because some of us, we didn't take notes. I took some of the things that you said. One of them is, that we should prove ourselves. We should keep believing in ourselves. That's from Fayama. And I pick one thing that the Oyebuji said, that if there is no challenge, there is no change. So it's more like this challenge is where the change is, and that's where we are going to grow. So we should take it as an opportunity. And again, let's not make assumptions about women. I think it was Priscilla that dropped that point about women capability. You need to, as a company, we need to ask them, can you handle this role? Let the woman be the one to say, okay, I can do it or I can't do it. Not just assume, for them. And then also Fayama talked about our employer, that they should work on the policy that supports women representation, and create a support system, and also make conscious efforts. I think that was from Michael, saying the companies should make a conscious effort to make sure that there is, enough women representation in the industry. Again, I have another point here that said that we should be objective, to any bias. We should not be biased towards whether they are men or women. We should look at every issue objectively, and then we should speak up. I think this from Michael. He advised us to always speak up in the case of sexual harassment. If we are not getting results, we can escalate to the highest level. And I think this was still Michael, about training a child to be fair thinking, not that you are a woman, so you have to be in the kitchen while the boys, you have to sit with daddy and watch, football, things like that. So we have to let them have that quality, innate in them while they are growing up. And also to speak up, not just for yourself. This one is from Priscilla, because there are so many people in the industry, they can't really, speak up. And once you just, at any point that you just bully them, they just enter into their share, and that will be it. And that will take, a very long time. Their career is more like, shattered from that end, and they are not able to move on. So Priscilla advised us to always speak up, if not for ourselves, but for the next person that may not have the courage, to come out and speak up for ourselves. And lastly, we should invest in the support system. That's from Fayama. I really appreciate all our guest speakers. Thank you so much. Thank you for the listener as well. Thank you all for all your questions that you turn in. So now I'll be handing over to Patience for her to take us through the upcoming events. So Patience, is over to you now.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for being part of our International Women's Day event. We are glad, and we say thank you for joining in and staying to the end. Before the announcement, I would just want to say something. What this event or this day particularly means to me, it's very important because being in a field where, male dominating, it's very important to have a good background. So my comment is to the men. So any woman you have in your life, be it your mother, your daughter, your wife, your junior colleague, even your senior colleague, make sure you put in them you believe in them. Let them know that you have hope in them and you believe that they can do the best. Because when you let people know you have faith in them, it gives them the power to do everything they wanted to do. So growing up in a family of 4 girls, my father had already taught us what we should expect from life, what we needed, gave us all the love we needed. So even when I got into the university and I was like maybe the second, only 2 girls in my class studying geology, it was not new to me because I knew what to expect from the world, and I had already had all the love I needed to go into the world. My father had already given me everything I needed, and also being in the right cell code, taking SP legal section, for example, there are a lot of men and male and female mentors that let you know that, oh, you can do this, and set an example for you. And I hope this comment goes a long way. So for SPE Lagos section, the upcoming event we have next slide, please. Yes. So we have 2 upcoming events. So the first one is a live webinar done by the student chapter collaboration team, preparing tomorrow's energy leaders, the role of diversity and inclusion in technology advancement. There's going to include panel session, quiz, student chapter presentation, ALP giveaway, and lots of gifts to be won. It's going to hold on Friday and Saturday, March 12th and 13th, 2021. It's a virtual event, so you click on the link to register. It's going to be 3 p.m. March 12th and 13th. Friday, and Saturday. So you can go to our social media pages you will see the post, the flyer there. There will be a link to register to attend this event. The next event that will be coming up is a virtual event. It's a virtual training on introduction to web application development using PHP. Our facilitator is Mr. Jackson Ugbona, production line supervisor for Konoyo. Is going to be taking this training from March 19th to March 21st, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So on Friday, the event is going to be from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. On Saturday, it's going to be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And on Saturday, it's going to be from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. If you go on our social media pages, you will find this flyer. Search for the link, register to attend event. Both events are going to be free, so you do well to register to attend. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining today. Thank you, our guest speakers. Thank you, our moderator. Thank you for joining in. Next slide, please. Please do well to follow SPE Lagos section on all our social media platforms. If you already aren't following, we have SPE Lagos section 61 on LinkedIn, SPE Lagos SPE underscore Lagos for Twitter, SPE underscore Lagos for Instagram, SPE.Lagos for Facebook, and SPE Lagos for YouTube. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel where you find all the recorded events. So this event is a recorded event. If you had missed out any part of it or any part of our events due to maybe your timing or schedule, you can always go to our SPE Lagos YouTube channel, subscribe to see and revisit and watch the events. For inquiries or SPE registration and membership renewal, contact SPE Lagos station at gmail.com, Mr. Chimere at greatchimo@yahoo.com, and Ms. Stella eyitayo.stella@gmail.com, or call the number on the screen. Please do well to follow our social media pages, like, comment, go to the flyer on this event, what you gained, your experience, your favorite guest speaker, what your experience is entirely about this program on our social media platform. It will be greatly appreciated. Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. Bye.
Right. I think someone has their hand up. Do you want to give them the opportunity to speak?
Oh, okay. I didn't see that. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much, Priscilla. My question is actually to you. I wanted to ask regarding the scenario that you used as an example of setting a standard of how you wanted to be treated, especially in a workplace, and taking a good step, setting up a meeting as far as being the executive.
Sorry, your line is breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
Okay.
Yeah, my question is regarding you, the scenario you painted or the scenario you used as an example of how you wanted to be treated and speaking up for yourself as far as setting up a meeting. You didn't get what you expected. You went ahead to speak to the highest hierarchy in that position. But my question now is, at what point or what yardstick do you take to know that, okay, this way I want to be treated, I am not asking for too much?
Okay, thank you. Ene, can I address you as Ene?
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
Okay. So for me, I had worked with different people. So I had said that because I had seen and experienced better, the basic thing is to be treated with respect, right? You're not the only one I'm working with. I'm working with different people. Why is the issue only with you? So when situations like that arise, you know that there's something wrong. And then you ask yourself, the question. You do some reflection and ask yourself, am I asking for too much? Why is this happening? But while you ask yourself that question, don't get into the situation where you begin to blame yourself for the actions of the bully. Because sometimes it's not about you. And trust me, you can get into that situation where you're beginning to make excuses, but you also have to understand that it's an organization and the industry you work for, you have the opportunity to work with a diverse team. So if you don't have the issues with anybody else, if you've worked with a boss who's treated you with respect, and if you've experienced respect, you've experienced better, then there's no basis for accepting anything less. I think that should be a minimum standard. So when you're in a situation and there's an attempt to make you feel less than you felt, especially if you're not just entering the industry, you have good track record, you have experiences, and you know what you bring to the table, you understand what your value is, then there's no reason whatsoever to accept anything less than basic respect and professionalism. There's no reason. Because at the end of the day, you have to understand that you were hired to bring value to the company. You weren't picked up from the streets. Everybody was hired to deliver value. And if something is a hindrance to you delivering that value, especially an individual, then it's important that you address it. That's the way I see it. I don't know if that answers. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate this. I don't know if in the spirit of Women's Day, I can add a follow-up question, please. Madam Stella, please, can I?
Okay.
Yeah.
You can go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I have a situation currently that is making me ask this question, and I'll just state the situation clearly. I joined the company recently as an intern. However, I'd worked before I joined as a graduate intern in that particular company because I wanted to gain that experience with the company. But the window that was open to me was a graduate internship program. Now, we all had a target, but the target was not specified or told to anybody. At the end of the year and to the end of this first quarter, about 70% of the sales that was made in that department was made by the leads that I generated and the leads that I followed up on. As at Friday, there was a presentation on the success story, and to my amazement, none of those income and none of all of those sales were acknowledged or registered under what I have done. My name was not even on the SAP platform. So I felt really cheated. I felt, but at this point, I really didn't know how to handle it. I felt, I just kept mute, although I was boiling inside of me, but I felt really not acknowledged.
Okay, anyone wants to take that question? Well, I have a lot to say, but well, what I'll just tell you, is that a lot of that happens in this industry. Some people are just there. They don't want to really do the hard work, but they want to take the glory. So, but what you have going for you is that while you are doing that work, you picked up a lot of experiences. You have added, a lot of skills to yourself. Because when this kind of situation happen, those people, they are actually maybe above you in terms of your level at work. And if you're not careful, sometimes it may backfires when you challenge them, either openly or privately, So, but me, I'll just advise that you've already gained a lot of skills doing that work. When is your time to come out and present your work and everything? You come out and more like dazzled, most individual. But it's not all the time that you have to keep quiet. Sometimes you need to be assertive and stand up to that situation and challenge. But if is that's when is occurring like almost every other time. Me, personally, I'm just going to hold on to what I've learned from that skills, especially when it's your boss and you've done everything and it's not working. Just hold on to what you've done, and I don't know. That's my own best response, because I've personally been in this kind of situation. And at the end of the day, everybody, they knew the person doing the work. So they knew the person to go and approach when they want to get the work done. While, some people were at the level, they were thinking that they are taking the glory and all, but it didn't really mean anything, because when it's time, people will recognize you that you are the one doing the work, because you have the skill set that you have built over time. So, I mean, it's the morning, but you just have to, keep your mind and soul together. And one way to do that is to just know that those experiences that you have achieved along the way, they are not for granted. So I think that's just what I'll say. I don't know if there is anyone that wants to contribute, to that or add to that.
I think for me, I think this sounds like one of those situations where, like Michael stated in his response on one of the questions earlier on, where you need to be tactful with how you confront the situation. Um, it, because now it's there are chances that when people challenge the status quo, they could get repercussions. The chances are even worse when you are a graduate intern at that point in time and have not been employed permanently into the organization. But that does not mean that you do not deserve the respect and credit for a good job that you have done. My recommendation would be for you to approach the leader of your team one on one and express your disappointment to that person, and let the person know that it come from the angle of the motivation that it is giving to you, the fact that you're expecting inspiration and motivation from them in the organization, and that such an action can actually demotivate you and your progress. Hopefully, if it's someone, if it's a responsible person in the industry, then he or she should um, realize that it was a mistake that ought to be corrected at the earliest opportunity. And then, like I've said earlier on, if you could get more, on your side, who see what you've seen, or who sees the perspective that you have about, which to me is very easy to see. You worked on things and they brought you that result, and then you excluded. It's easy for everyone to see that you've been sidelined, or you've been treated unfairly, and so should support the recognition, like I said, of correcting that mistake at any earliest opportunity.
Thank you. Okay, so because of time, I think we
So
should
I would
now.
say,
Still want to say something, Priscilla? You can go ahead.
so I understand where she's coming from, and it hurts when you've done work and somebody else takes the glory. It's quite painful, but by virtue of the fact that you were able to do good job and 70% of the leads came from you, it means that you're exceptional and quite good at what you do. It means that you can think out of the box. It means that you are good. So it could be that the person who's taking the glory doesn't know any better. It could be that he doesn't know any better. So you may want to then have a chat with him. It could be, don't come from an angle of being antagonistic. It's you coming from an angle of wanting to learn and seeking an opportunity for you to gain the relevant experience that you need. When you come from that angle, he or she might likely want to open up more. Another thing I'd like to say is your work always speaks for you. So people actually see it could be that he's taking all the glory, but people do see. So you'll be surprised that people actually recognize that you are the one doing the work. Just like Fayama said, you have to evaluate the phase where you're in and make a decision on whether to pipe or to attack. So this might be that situation where you don't need to attack, but to pipe down because you need to build more experience and competences. So first start by having a chat and coming from an angle of, oh, you'd like to learn, you'd like to grow. This situation happened, you weren't really happy because you weren't acknowledged. Have that kind of conversation. And then documentation is key. So he's your boss, he's your you report to him, but you could give updates of X, Y, Z that you have achieved and how they have added to the bottom line of the company. Email is a documentation. So you could put those points in an email. I've done this, sir, I've done this, and I've achieved X, Y, Z. It's on record, right? He's not going to be able to delete it. If someone is asking you for evidence of what you've done, you can provide that as an evidence. So, I mean, those are the few points I'd just like to leave behind.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
All right. So thank you, everyone. I think we can call it a day now. Thank you so much. Thank you, Fayama, Oyebuchi, Michael, and Priscilla. Thanks.
It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice evening.